Guys, welcome to another video. You've got Mr. Everything English, and in today's video I am going to try and give you 10 tips that I think you should do between now and your exams. Guys, your exams are 9 to 10 weeks away. That is mad. Exam season is coming super quick and super strong. And if you're not ready, guys, it's gonna come knock you out straight in your face, and you're gonna wake up in August thinking, how did I get a grade 1? And I don't want that to be you. So I'm gonna give you guys my top 10 tips of what you should be doing as an English student between now and the start of your GCSEs. Number one, guys, the first thing that you should be doing, and let's see, maybe I can do top 10 in 10 minutes. Guys, number one, the first thing you should be doing is, if you haven't already, I beg you, go and learn the mark scheme. Go and learn what you're supposed to be doing for the question that you're supposed to be answering. And for this one, guys, don't just rely upon your teachers. You do it. If you go to the AQA site or the EdXL site or whatever your exam board is, if you go to the relevant sites of these exam boards, you can read the mark scheme. And it will give you an overall idea of what you must do for each question. So guys, get a gist, get an idea. Make a note of what you must do for each question according to the mark scheme, not based upon random opinions. Because that way you have focus. You know that I can cut out all of the noise. I can put it on mute, because I know that for this question, based upon the mark scheme, I must do this, this, this. Guys, I get some crazy messages where people ask me, oh sir, for question 3, so-and-so told me that I must do this. And I'm sitting there thinking, who's so-and-so and where did you get that advice from? So guys, my first advice to all of you is, I beg you, understand and learn the mark scheme. Just know what you're supposed to do for each question. Tip number 2, and this is where things get interesting. We are in March, and I hate to give this advice, but I have to give it because I feel as though I will be disingenuous if I don't. Make sure, and only you know the answer to this question. Make sure you have read your books and your poems and your plays and all of your texts for English literature. When I say read your text, I don't mean Googled summary of Macbeth or Googled key events in Romeo and Juliet. I mean you have sat and read page 1 to page 100 and whatever it is, cover to cover, knowing what happens. Now, do I expect you to understand everything you read by yourself? No, that's what I'm there for. That's what your teachers are there for. We are there to elevate your learning. But as a basic, guys, if you're sitting in March and you're supposed to be doing Jekyll and Hyde as one of your texts, but you haven't got a clue where Jekyll and Hyde is because you read that at the start of your 10 and you know your school's not going to read it, guys, please read your books. Because 80% of time when students struggle to explain the effect of a quote, it isn't because of the language, it's because they don't know what that quote means in context of the book. So number 2, guys, please read your book. And number 3, guys, oh my God, this one. I have been crying to my year 11s about this since end of year 10, and now we're getting to the end of year 11. Guys, from the bottom of my heart, I am asking you all to please learn your quotes. You can't do any revision. You can't do any revision for English literature if you haven't learned your quotes. Why? Because any revision that you do with your book open, or any revision you do where you're taking quotes from a YouTube video, is fake. Because in your exam, there's no YouTube videos. In your exam, there's no book. In your exam, there's you, your pen, and whatever you've got up here. So please learn your quotes, because you could be sitting at home writing beautiful essays. It doesn't mean anything, because the aid that you're using is not gonna be there in your exam. So guys, you're basically getting gassed up for no reason. So please learn your quotes. 10 for Shakespeare, 10 for 19th century, 10 for your modern text, and 3 per poem. Get that out of the way, because guys, I promise you, no amount of flashcards, no amount of pastel highlighters, no amount of essays, no amount of anything for English literature counts, because if you haven't learnt your quotes, you're just kidding yourself, because when you're left to your own devices in your exam with nothing but a pen and a paper, what's going to happen? You're going to sit there and just flop the exam. So guys, please learn your quotes. And it can't take that long, guys. I'm an old man. And if I had to learn 10 quotes from Macbeth or Romeo and Juliet, I could probably learn them in about a couple of days. I'm sure you guys can learn your quotes. If you actually dedicated a week to learning quotes, do it and get it out of the way, because that will allow you to move on with your revision. What number are we on? Number four, guys. Once you've read your books, once you've learned your quotes, at the moment, guys, I'm talking about English literature. Get essay planning done. Plan essay after essay after essay after essay. Why is planning essays so important? Because planning essays will help you test to see if your revision is working. That's your testing ground. Now, you might not have time to do essay after essay, but essay plan. Take 5 minutes, take 10 minutes. Pull up a question on Inspector Calls. Here's the question. All right, what are my 4 quotes? What are my 4 points? What are my 4 techniques? What is my context? Essay plan done, move on. If you get to an essay that you can't plan, so maybe you can't think of any quotes for that particular question, or maybe you can't answer that question, then what does that tell you? That tells you you need to go back and revise that particular theme or revise that character. But guys, get as many essay plans done as possible. And then the following, and this is for English language. Learn your basics. English language, guys, is not heavy on content. English literature is heavy on content. It has the books and the poems. English language, you have 5 questions and you have a source or 2 sources. So English language is not heavy on content. So please learn your basics. What are your basics? If you're in year 11 and the only language devices you know is simile and metaphor, boy, you need to get some work done. Learn at least 10 language devices, and don't do fake learning. Don't do learning where you think you've heard your teacher say the word onomatopoeia, so you think you know something called onomatopoeia, but in your exam, you don't actually know what it means. No, that doesn't count. Learn 10 language devices that you know how to select in a text and you know how to use. Learn 10 structural devices and learn them in the same way. Learn how to use them and learn how to pick them from a text. All right, guys, next, number 6. This is now bringing everything together. English is a writing exam, and one of the biggest problems where people will fail is not because of content, it's because they simply don't finish the exam. So guys, please make sure you're allowing enough time at home to practice exam questions and exam papers. This is for both English language and for English literature. Really start churning these out. You've got 9 weeks left. 9 weeks. Really, guys, focus and start churning out these exam papers over and over and over and over again. So the day you go and do your exam, it just feels like another exam. Number 7, guys. This one is gonna be controversial, but I'm gonna say it. Do you know paper 1, question 5, which is the description paper? The description paper, the creative writing question, creative writing, where you're either writing a story or you're describing the picture. This is my advice. Ditch the description. That's my advice. Because if you've watched any of my content, when it comes to paper 1, question 5, we know the cheat code. We know the cheat code, and the cheat code works. So my advice is maybe ditch the description, learn a story off by heart, tweak it on the day of your exam, and use it in your exam, and walk out of that hall knowing that you did well, because at least 50% of the exam you secured before you set foot in the exam hall. All right, after you've ditched the description, number 8, number 9, and number 10. Guys, number 8, if you read my sheet, I've literally written, stop wasting time doing nonsense. What do I mean by this? I get students, right, who show me their revision notes and they look amazing. They've got bubble writing saying Eric Burling and Sheila Burling, and they've got pages and pages of notes on characters. And every time I ask them, what are you doing for revision? The answer is, I'm just making my notes. But this note-making endeavor, it seems to be never ending. Month after month after month, they're making notes. First, they'll make notes on A4 sheets. Then they'll transfer these notes onto flashcards. Then they'll sit with their friend and then they'll test each other on flashcards. Then they'll watch stuff online. Then they'll make posters for their wall. But in all of that, I never see them pick up a pen, put a timer on, and work. Guys, be honest with yourself, and when you're working, when you're revising, stop doing things that have no effect. Stop doing things that don't benefit you in your work. Flashcards and lovely little mind maps and all this stuff. If it was September, I would say fair enough. We're in March, your exam's in 2 months. How are you still making flashcards? Guys, please get to a point where you are now removing all that, and for English literature, you're doing exam essay plans and exam practice, and for English language, you're doing exam practice. Of course, that's after you've learnt your quotes, read your books, learnt the basics. Number 9. Number 9. Revision timetables. Change them. Because your revision timetable, guys, you should be upping the notch slightly. I said to you guys in the video that I released, I believe in September, I said your revision should be like this and it should gradually increase. Believe it or not, guys, we're reaching the peak. So you should be changing your revision timetable to match the context of the need of the time. If you're still revising the same amount of hours that you were revising in September, something must change, guys. Something needs to change. Your revision timetable must match the month we are in and the time you're in. So you should be revising a lot more. Now you might say, sir, but sorry guys, you might say, sir, you know what? I don't care about English, it's a waste of time. That's fine, you believe what you want. But I'm talking now generally for all of your subjects. Make sure you're giving priority to English, maths, and science. And then you're adding the other subjects, but make sure you're working at a certain quality. There's gonna be days, guys, coming very soon where you're gonna lose sleep. It happens. Guys, it happens. I remember when I used to revise for my GCSEs, I used to revise in the front room in my house, well, in my parents' house. And I would watch my friends walking on the streets, like going to the park and whatnot. And I would sit, guys, in my front room all day revising. And it showed in the results that came later. But my point being, guys, is start to put in that effort. You might miss out on certain events and you might miss certain, I don't know, parties or whatever you guys do. But it's a short-term sacrifice for a long-term gain. So start to up it. Even if you miss sleep, guys, sleep is overrated when you got things to do. I genuinely believe that. If you got things to do, set your alarm and get up. And work an extra hour in the morning if you have to. It's not a big deal. You got to do what you got to do. Now, I'm not saying starting now, but maybe as you get closer to your exams, put in some kind of process in place where you're now working that little bit harder. And this is not just for English, guys. I'm talking about all of your subjects. And my last bit of advice, guys. Really understand what's coming, because I always say this, guys, I'm a big believer. I can teach you everything that you need to know about English. Language, literature, how to pass, how to get a grade 9, what to do, everything. But you might walk into your exam and you might freeze. you might get anxious. You might feel your heart beating fast and your hand might start shaking and you can't perform the way you normally perform. Don't let that be you, guys. My last bit of advice is start practicing what you're gonna be doing, and that is doing exams. When you get boxers, guys, when you get fighters, how do they train? They don't just punch a punch bag all day long. At some point, they start to spar, because the sparring is the closest thing that emulates what they're gonna be doing on fight night. What is your fight? What is your end date? What is your end goal? It is to sit an exam. I've seen students crumble in exams. Grade 9 students come out of the exam with a very low grade, not because they've not been able to answer the question, but guys, they freeze and they panic and they overthink. Get used to doing exams. Set a timer in wherever you do your work. Take your phone out, put a timer on, and do exam condition work. And again, be honest with yourself. You might not pass it, or you might not finish it the first time. Try again, try again, try again, try again, try again. By the 10th time, you're gonna get it done. Now guys, look, those are my 10 pieces of advice. I hope they made sense. I'm gonna read them out one more time because I've written them down, but I hope I've made sense. Number 1, guys, it was understand the mark scheme. Number 2 is read your books. Number 3, learn your quotes. Number 4, plan your essays. Number 5, learn the basics for English language. Number 6, get that exam practice. Number 7, ditch the description. Number 8, stop wasting time doing nonsense. Number 9, your revision timetable, update it. And number 10, get ready for what you're going to be doing very, very soon. Because trust me, guys, that will help you so much. Guys, I hope you found this video beneficial. As I always say, I do try my best to give you what you need, because that's what I'm here for. Thank you for your support as always. It's been Mr. Everything English. Peace.